Hi, and welcome back to Tales from Around the World. I am so excited to see you back with us. You did the most incredible job last week helping me tell the story and making all of the different sounds of the animals, and I hope that you're going to help me again this week. I'm also really excited that Leo liked meeting you so much that he came out again to see you today. Do you think you can say hi to all our friends? Can you just try? Can you give them a little wave? There they are. Can you wave to them? Yeah, just one little wave. Go ahead. Yeah, that's so good. They all came to see you. Yeah, he's still a little bit shy. So, today I'm going to tell you an amazing story from the country of Hungary. No, actually, Leo, Hungary was last week, and it is also a really, really cool, really amazing country. But this week, we're going to tell a story from the country of Hungary. Oh, you mean you're hungry, not the country of Hungary. Well, the thing is, lions are hungry all the time because they eat a lot, and Leo is a growing lion, and he wants to just eat bagel bites and popsicles and snack cakes all day long, and it's pretty crazy. But right now, we're not going to eat a snack. We're going to talk about the country of Denmark. And speaking of snacks, lots and lots of people believe that the Danish was created in Denmark, but it was not. It was created in Vienna. But here are 3 amazing facts about Denmark, because I love to tell you facts about countries. The first is that 50% of the people in Denmark ride their bikes to work every day. Wouldn't that be incredibly cool to ride your bike to school or to work every single day? I know that I would absolutely love that because I love riding a bike. How many of you love riding a bike? Raise your hand. I thought so. And Florida is a wonderful place to ride bikes because it's so flat. The second incredible fact about Denmark is that they created the term hygge. What famous movie and stage show have you heard the word hygge? It's spelled Hygge. That's right, Frozen talks about the concept of hygge and has a song all about hygge that we performed at Naples Players this past fall in a beautiful production. And the idea of hygge is that you're in a place that's really comfortable and you're settled down and you're super cozy and you're with your friends and your family and you're just super, super safe and comfortable. And I hope that as you hear the story this morning, you feel a sense of hygge. And finally, the Danes invented one of the most famous toys in the world. Can you guess what it is? It's something that is made of plastic, and it's all different shapes, and they snap together to make other bigger shapes. And they can make like the Hogwarts castle from Harry Potter, or they can make trucks, or they can make train stations. And they really, really hurt if you step on them. That's right, they invented Legos. Who knew, right? Legos. And Legos are an amazing invention. So I'm gonna ask Leo to sit down and listen to our story. It begins with a demon and a mirror. This is the story of the Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen. Once upon a time, there was a demon high up in the sky, and the demon had a truly, truly terrible mirror, because when you looked in the mirror, instead of seeing your face and the faces of your friends and your family and your house around you, you would see things not as they really were, but as a complete lie. So you might look at the most beautiful person in the world in the mirror and they'd suddenly look really grotesque, or you'd look at your lovely, lovely, lovely house and it would look like a shack. And the opposite was true as well. You could see a run-down old shack in the mirror and it would look like the most beautiful castle in the world. Well, the mirror was up there in the sky, and the demon was very proud of inventing it, because as you can imagine, when people came and they saw these reflections that weren't what they thought they were at all, they got really confused, and the demon absolutely loved to confuse people, lived to confuse people. But there was one other thing that the demon liked to do. He liked to dance. And I want you just to clap along with me. Thank you. And the demon liked to dance with a stomping kind of dance. But you may know, if you stomp, things eventually will break. So he stomped, and he stomped, and he stomped, and he stomped, and he danced, and he danced, and he danced, and he danced, and he laughed, and he laughed, and he laughed, and he laughed, and boom! He broke the mirror. And it shattered into a gazillion pieces. And the pieces of the mirror went floating all over the world. And they were so little that you could hardly even see them. But what could happen is that a little piece of the mirror could get into your eye. And if that happened, all of a sudden, the world looked completely different to you. Your friends looked like your enemies, and your enemies looked like your friends, and beautiful things looked like ugly things, and ugly things looked like beautiful things, and it was all very, very confusing. At around the time that the mirror broke, there were two children who were very, very, very best friends. They were named Kay and Gerda, and they lived in two identical houses right next to each other, and they both grew roses. Does anybody here grow roses? I love roses so much. So they grew roses, and their families were really good friends, so they combined all their rose bushes, and they had the most beautiful rose garden in all of Denmark. And Gerda and Kay visited each other and played together all the time, all the time. And one day they were really, really excited because it was the winter carnival. And they went to the winter carnival together, and it was at night, and it was snowing, and it was so, so, so beautiful. And they ate cotton candy, and they ate caramel popcorn. And finally, Kay said, "Hey, Gerda, let's go ice skating out on the lake." Now, Gerda didn't really want to go ice skating, and she didn't want to go ice skating because she had just received an amazing, amazing present, and it was this pair of red shoes. And in the olden days, I don't know if you know this, but in the olden days, people didn't change into different ice skates. They actually attached their shoe to the skate. And Gerda said, oh no, Kay, I really don't want to ruin my new beautiful red shoes, and it's so late, and it's dark, and we don't want to get lost, out on the lake, which is so big. And Kay said, "Oh, come on, Gerda, come on, don't be a spoil sport. We can go out on the lake, it'll be fine." So Gerda finally agreed, because Kay was her very best friend in the world, and they went out on the lake. And it was so quiet. And they skated, and they skated, and they skated. And it was 11 o'clock at night, and it was midnight, and it was 1 o'clock in the morning. And Gerda said, "Kay, we absolutely have to go home. I'm so, so, so tired." So they skated back, and as they came off the lake, Gerda tripped and she fell. And Kay said, "Oh no, Gerda, this is all my fault. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you get back to the house." They were both staying at Gerda's house that night with her grandmother. So Kay helped Gerda into the house. And once she got inside, they realized that she had left one of her beautiful red shoes on the bank of the river. And Kay said, "I'll go get it, I'll go get it." And Gerda's grandmother said, "No, absolutely not. Nobody goes out at night at this time. Nobody. Don't you know who is roaming around at this time? The Snow Queen. You can't possibly run into the path of the Snow Queen. She looks beautiful, but she's horrible and she's very, very dangerous. And Kay said, well, you know what? I'm not afraid at all. I'm not afraid of the Snow Queen. I'm not afraid of anybody. I'm going to run out there and I'm going to get Gerda's shoe and I'm going to come right back in. And the grandmother said, no, no, no. No, 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 please don't go out. We'll find the shoe tomorrow. We'll get more shoes, but don't go out. It's very, very, very late at night and you're in real danger. But Kay did go out. He waited until the grandmother was sleeping and Gerda was sleeping, and he snuck outside. And once he got out there, it was so beautiful. And he had the entire world all to himself. And he just started spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. And he looked up in the sky and boom. He felt something in his eye. And when he looked up again, things didn't seem so beautiful after all. And he thought to himself, why am I out here? You know, it's wet and it's cold, and I don't need to get Gerda's shoe for her. Like, we're not that good of friends. We don't need to like do things for each other, like go out in the middle of the night and pick up shoes that people have carelessly left on the riverbank. So he came back indoors and he didn't clean up his shoes and he went to sleep, and when he woke up the next day, he was so unlike himself that Gerda said, what's happening to you? It's like you're a completely different person. And Kay said, well, Gerda, you know what? I'm not sure that we should play together anymore. Because it seems like I'm grown up and I'm ready to do things like go ice skating without falling and losing my shoe, and you're not. So maybe we can find some other friends. And Gerda was so hurt by this that she started to cry. But Kay ignored her and he walked away. And Gerda called after him, but he didn't come back in. Kay took a long, long walk. He walked until it was nighttime, and then he heard the sound of hooves and a beautiful, beautiful white carriage pulled up next to him. And he heard a voice say, "Can you help me?" And even with what had happened to him, with the mirror in his eye, there was still some part of Kay that wanted to help people. And so he said, "Well, why do you need help?" And the woman, and I think you know who it was, turned to him and she said, "Well, I don't have any friends, and I need you to be my friend." And at this, Kay got really very, very uncomfortable. And he said, "Well, you know, I have a friend. She's called Gerda, and I should probably go back to where she is because I really wasn't very nice to her." And the woman said, "No. Please come with me to my palace. You'll be so grown up, and you'll have everything that you ever wanted. It's so warm there, and it's so beautiful, and we have fireplaces, and we have gorgeous meals every night with at least 6 desserts. Wouldn't you like that?" And Kay thought, well, it can't hurt to just go with her a little bit. And so he got into her carriage and she said, "Come, come. It's nice and warm in here." But Kay didn't feel warm. He felt colder and colder. And the closer he got to her, the colder he felt. And the woman said to him, "Here, you can take my coat. I don't need it. I never, ever feel cold." And of course, you will have realized that she was the Snow Queen. And Kay realized it too, and he really wanted to get out of that carriage. And so he said, stop, 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 let me out, let me out. And the woman said, you promised to come with me. And a promise is a promise. And once we get there, I'm going to show you the most amazing game. And she put her hand on his shoulder, and he felt so cold where she had touched him. And I'm wondering if you can help me now by making the sound of the wind. So they rode, and they rode, and they rode. And when they got there, Kay was very surprised to see that the palace was built all of ice. It was ice in every direction, ice as far as he could see, cold, glittering ice. And he said, oh no, I need to go home to Gerda and to her grandmother. They'll be asking where I am. And the Snow Queen said, well, of course I'd like to let you go home, but you have to do one thing for me first. You have to go out there to that field where you'll see many, many, many pieces of ice. And you have to gather them together so that they form a word. And Kay said, well, what word? What word do they need to form? Any word? And the Snow Queen said, oh no, not just any word. They need to spell eternity. And so Kay went out by himself into the cold, cold, cold field. And at home, Gerda had woken up and realized that Kay wasn't there. So she started asking everybody where he was. And they said to her, I'm so afraid that he's gone with the Snow Queen. And Gerda said, I have to find him. I have to find him immediately. He may have not been nice to me, but he's still my friend, and I'm going to find him. And she went down to the river, and she said, please, please, river, will you tell me where my friend is? Here, look, you can have my shoes. And she put her red shoes, her beautiful red shoes, in the river. But the river said, I don't know where Kay is, and gave the shoes back to her. So Gerda took her shoes, and she put them on, and she began to walk and walk and walk. And she came upon a field of flowers. And she said to the flowers, please, please, can you tell me where my friend Kay is? Have you seen him? And the daisy looked at her, and the daisy said, I lost something. And Gerda said, well, what did you lose? And the daisy said, I was in a park. I was playing with a blue ball. I was tossing it up and down, and then it was gone. Can you help me find it? And Gerda said, no, I'm so sorry. I can't help you find it. Can you please help me find my friend Kay? He's lost, and I think he's with the Snow Queen. And the daffodil looked up at her, and the daffodil said to her, well, I too have lost something. It was many, many years ago. I was swinging on a swing, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I was holding my stuffed rabbit, and once I was up very high, and I let go of the stuffed rabbit, and it just seemed to float up in the air, and I never found it again. Can you help me? And Gerda said, no, I'm sorry. I would love to help you find your stuffed rabbit, but I'm looking so hard for my friend Kay. Please, can you try to help me find him? And finally, the iris spoke to her, and the iris said, I lived over there many, many years ago, but I wandered to here. Can you help me find my home again? And Gerda said, I would really love to help you find your home again, but unfortunately I don't know where it is. And the flowers didn't like this answer at all. And they weren't like the friendly flowers, the roses of Gerda's home. They started advancing towards her, saying, "Help me, help me, help me. It's your job to help me." And Gerda said, "I'm sorry, I can't. Can you help me make the sound of the wind?" And the wind pushed Gerda through the fields, and it pushed her over the mountains, and it pushed her until she was running faster and faster and faster and faster than she had ever run in her whole entire life. And finally, she saw a series of caravans and people with patches over their eyes and bandanas over their head, and she realized that she'd run into a band of robbers, and so she tried to run in the other direction, but of course, there was nowhere to go. And this little girl that couldn't have been any older than Gerda came up to her and she said, "You give me your shoes right now." And Gerda said, "I can't give you my shoes. They're the only shoes I have." And the little robber girl said, "I control everything here. You give me your shoes. You give them to me, give them to me, give them to me now. Or you'll be my prisoner forever." And Gerda said, "Okay, well, I can't be your prisoner forever." So she took off her beautiful red shoes and she handed them to the robber girl. And she was taken into one of the caravans and she was given bread and water. And then she started to cry. And the robber girl said, "Oh, please don't cry. What are you crying about? What are you crying about?" And Gerda said to her, "You see, I've lost my dear friend Kay. Something terrible happened to him. He got something in his eye and then he disappeared. And I think the Snow Queen has captured him." And the little robber girl said, "Wait, what? Did you say the Snow Queen?" And Gerda said, yes, I think the Snow Queen captured him. Can you tell me where to find her?" And the robber girl went, "Men, wake up." And all the robbers ran over to their caravan and they said, yes, what do we need to do?" And the robber girl said, "We captured this girl and she lost her friend. And you need to help her get to the Snow Queen's castle because the Snow Queen took her friend away and she needs to find him, and we don't have time to dilly-dally. We don't have time to eat breakfast. You take your red shoes right now. You take your red shoes right now. We're going with you to the gates of the castle." And they hooked up their caravans and they brought all their stuff with them. And again, they went over the fields, and please give me the sound of the wind. And when they arrived at the palace, that was this ugly, ugly palace of ice, the robber girl said, "Well, I'm sorry, but the rules are you have to go in by yourself. We'll wait for you here, but it's a longer walk than it seems like." And Gerda swallowed, and she built up her courage. And she said, "I will go in alone." And the robber girl said to her, "But you have to promise me one thing." And Gerda said, "Oh, anything. Thank you so much for helping me." And the robber girl said, Well, I've never had a friend, so you have to promise that if you go in there and you get out Kay, both of you have to be my friends too." And Gerda said, "Of course. We are already friends." And the robber girl said, "Okay, enough. I don't like mushy sentimentality. Just go in the castle." So Gerda very slowly approached the castle. It was more bleak than she could possibly have imagined. It was cold and icy and slippery and dark and gray, and all of a sudden she heard a voice that seemed to come from everywhere all at once. And the voice said, "What are you doing here? Who are you? Turn back." And Gerda was very, very scared, but she said, I'm here to rescue my friend, Kay. And the Snow Queen said, he's not your friend. He's my friend. And Gerda was very, very scared. But she said, he is not your friend. He's my friend. And you have to give him back to me. And the Snow Queen said, oh, you have one chance to get him back. But you'll lose! He's over there in the field trying to spell the word eternity. And he'll never complete the task. Go on. And so Gerda ran to the field. She ran to the field, and poor Kay was frozen. He'd been in the middle of picking up a piece of ice, and he'd frozen in place. And Gerda said, Kay, I've come to bring you home. Please wake up, please wake up, please don't be frozen. Because you see, Kay's heart had also frozen. And Gerda said, Kay, please talk to me. And Kay unfroze just enough to say, go away. I don't want to see you. I don't even remember you. And Gerda said, that's not true. That's not true. You do remember me. It's a lie that you don't remember me. Kay, please come back to us. Please wake up. But Kay said, I'm very happy here. I'm going to figure out how to spell eternity. And then, but he couldn't remember what would happen then. And watching him and how his heart had turned to ice, and she began to cry. And as a hot tear fell from her eye, it landed on Kay's hand. And his hand unfroze, and he touched his face, and a tear came out of his own eye, and with it, that little piece of mirror. And Kay said, Gerda, is it really you? I didn't know that you would ever find me here. And Gerda said, but I have found you here, and now we can run. Now we can leave. And they heard a terrible, terrible sound. And it was the sound of the palace shattering all around them. And they looked to where the Snow Queen was, but there was nothing. Just a pile of snow. And from the snow, there rose the most beautiful roses that they had ever seen in their lives. And when they looked at the field, which was now full of grass and full of rose bushes, and with a letter on each rose bush, and the word it spelled was eternity. And Kay and Gerda turned to look at each other, and they realized that they had grown up. Thank you so much for listening and joining me, and I'll see you next time.